Hello and welcome to HyperRogue Classic with Sprite Guard. Yes, I have been enjoying Orb Strategy mode so much that I wanted to kind of split the series, and we'll see how this goes. This is a little bit of an experiment, because I do want to play HyperRogue Classic more. It's still an amazing game, and I don't want the Orb Strategy mode to overtake it, kind of overshadow it, but I also want to keep doing Orb Strategy mode indefinitely-ish. So let's get started at this. Let's try out having two series at once. So now that I have the opportunity to use multiple save files, I figured there was no reason not to do it. So we're going to be trying to remember my classic strategies and trying to go for a Hyperstones victory, and also try to visit some areas that we maybe don't normally go to and see what we can accomplish. So we're going to start out, as I often do, by getting 25 ice diamonds. That is, I find, makes things a little bit easier sometimes because you have more access to the Orbs of Flash, which in both modes is incredibly important. In Classic mode, it's a little bit less valuable than it is in Strategy mode because you have less choice over when you can use it, but it's more important to get 25, or at least to go a little bit above and beyond, just because it makes it spawn more frequently. You know, the numbers aren't really comparable because 25 in this game is not really comparable to 25 in Orb Strategy mode because all of the requirements are higher in that mode. So getting back into the rhythm of HyperRogue Classic is going to take a little bit of getting used to. I'm going to be using some strategies from speedrunning this game. The main one is wall hugging. I find it makes things a lot more consistent. So we're going to be trying to stay in a position where we can always find our way back to the crossroads, because that makes it so that we don't get lost in areas. And I find that getting lost is what kills me most often in speedruns. And playing casually, I find, is not exactly like speedrunning, but I end up actually playing similarly to speedrunning a lot of the time. Now, in the desert, wall hugging is really useful when sandworms show up, because we can head straight for the crossroads and hopefully reset the desert and get away from the sandworms. Though whether or not we can do that is kind of limited by how much the sandworms are spawning, because, as you saw there, the sandworms just kept spawning, and so I wasn't able to get away from them as quickly as I had hoped. Now, we have to be a lot more careful in Classic mode. That is something that I always really struggle with. We have to... It's not even so much that it's about being more careful as that it's about being more aware, because in Orb Strategy mode it's a lot more consistent, the kind of trouble that you're getting in. Whereas in Classic mode, it kind of is a little bit more unpredictable when you're going to be in trouble. Now we can know certain things, like that the spawn rate in the Hall of Mirrors is unusually high, and we can play more carefully based on that. I do know that certain areas are going to be much more difficult than others, but I don't, there's a lot more room, there's a lot more emptiness in classic mode. It looks like something about the way the living fjord, the sea is drawn, has changed. It looks like the lines are thinner, and it looks like the heptagons are drawn a bit differently, so that everything's packed closer together. I did notice when I started this up that we are on 10.0N at this point, and so it looks like that may have been a change that happened with that. Alright, so we do have water elementals coming up. We did go to the elemental planes in a recent episode of the orb strategy mode, but I think today probably that's not high on the list, though if we're going for hyperstones, that is going to happen eventually. Orb of Water is useful. Vipul was actually suggesting a strategy involving the Orb of Water, using the Orb of Water to get the Orb of Yendor. And I didn't really look into that very deeply, but Vipul was saying that it might be a way of getting an even better world record, but that it's very RNG dependent. And I haven't been speedrunning this game as much as I was recently. I was speedrunning it very, very frequently for a little while, and then I took a bit of a break. And I do not know how long that break's going to be. I do intend on picking it up again relatively soon, but I don't know when. I do enjoy speedrunning this game, but everything has been strange since I was let go at work. Just how I've been kind of feeling in general, and how I've been able to manage my time. I was actually really surprised at how difficult it has been to manage my time, because I really thought that it was going to be really easy to kind of take on the challenge of managing my own free time, and I felt like I had so much that I wanted to do that it would be easy to fill my time. And what I'm discovering is that getting myself to do all of the things that I know that I want to do is surprisingly difficult. And it looks like, oh, okay, so I lost track of the crossroads for a little while there, but it looks like we found our way back to it. I don't know if it's the exact same one, but it's close enough. So we're just going to loop around a little bit to try and spawn some more treasures. We only need 2 more. And we can even, jump over to a different palace in order to do that. And it looks like we have no entrances here. The walls are just not quite lining up right. And we do want to get into one of the main halls. We don't want to... There we go. I was having a little bit of trouble kiting that guy onto the trapdoor. And now we have a skeleton after us. So we're just going to look for a place to knock him into a pit, because that's the easiest way to deal with skeletons. The only other way that I know of that's really effective for doing it is carrying them out into the crossroads, and then they have a longer stun time. Let's see, so what do we have? We have 65 treasures in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 types. We do want to get the phoenix feathers in order to start spawning the Orb of Safety. And again, we need 25, and so we're not going to be doing wall hugging. It is possible, it's difficult and a little bit random whether or not it works, but it is possible to wall hug if you're only going for 10. And it's something that I do during the speed run, because the speed run that I do is a marathon safe speed run. So I do a lot of things that are slower, but that are a lot more consistent, because my eventual goal is to be able to do HyperRogue speedrun demonstrations where I can be reasonably confident that I can describe the game, explain the game, and complete a run. And so that is what I was practicing when I was running this game really frequently, and it's what I would like to continue practicing. Let's see, we still want a little bit more before we grab an Orb of Safety. I do want to get that 25, just so that I know that we have it and that we don't have to do anything, don't have to go hunting for it. And there we go, we're at 25, so let's drop into an Orb of Safety. There we go, and so we're going to break here, and in the next episode we are going to continue our adventure and just keep gathering up treasures. I think I want to head... Let's see, because I do want to make this more of a Let's Play series, so we're not going to head to the ocean just yet, If I'm doing like a really serious Hyperstones run, I generally want to head to the ocean early and go to the whirlpool in order to fail faster, but we don't want to fail faster. We want to have a good long adventure. And so I'm thinking about, visiting some of the lands that I do find difficult, like the prairie, and areas that I don't visit very often, like the Buldash. And so all of that is going to be coming up in the future. And until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.